Howdy. I get to say howdy again. That's special. Folks, I'm having the time of my life right now. And this past week has just been off the chart. This was just sort of like winning the national championship for everybody that I've had the opportunity to coach or work with at all 5 schools when everything came in to place this past weekend. Going to Houston and being with the current Hall of Famers and being with the former Hall of Famers was unreal. When you're sitting there and there's Rudy T sitting over there and there's Dr. J there and here comes Bill Walton into the room, and of course with Tommy Bahama shirt, everybody else was decked out, but he controls the room, and Calipari and all the farmers. But the one that I enjoyed the most was Elvin Hayes. And then they gave the microphone before they talked to each one of us, and they said, say a couple words. They had all the former Hall of Famers say a few words. And that was entertaining. I think it relaxed us after it went around to about 10 former ones, and then they started around the room, and where I was sitting, I ended up having to be the last one. But it was a great night. And that was Friday night, and I wish that had been on tape somewhere, but they just passed the microphone around. You felt like similar to what they're going to be doing at the Masters tonight when they had the Champions Dinner tonight. That's what you feel like. You're in there with your colleagues and the Hall of Fame committee, your spouses, but then you're in there with the ones that have made this game something special. And it's all about the game. You can throw all that other stuff out, but when that ball goes up and the whistle goes out, it's about championships and it's about winning and competing. And I've had a storied life. And for some of y'all that do not know, this is Richard Justice, who was my second beat writer in Dallas for the Dallas Times-Herald, and Jim Dent was the first one. So I've been through some of the best media commentators and writers that have told the story. And please, whatever do, I know those cameras are very important, and this is very important, but the print media is what I'm all about because that's what I grew up with, and particularly when I used to throw the Dallas Morning News in the afternoon. So I did that for a couple of years as well. Open it up for questions.
So Gary, you kind of touched on, when did it sink in? Did it sink in that night when you're passing the microphone around, or has it totally sunk in yet of where you're at?
I think that night, because I was a kid in a candy store, and I'm just sitting around, sometimes afraid to go up and introduce yourself. They're going to say, who are you? It's just like the junior college coach that was there from Three Rivers that's won 1,400 something games, to be able to see him, and the Division III coach, Amherst, I believe where he was. And then to be able to see Julian Simpson recognizing the 76 Olympic team. And then the NBA guys, folks, our game's in great shape, but I could take Paul Gasol and Dirk Nowitzki and Dwayne Wade and Tony Parker and Popovich coach that team right now, they'd be in the playoffs. But I enjoyed seeing how people handled themselves. And there was no speeches written up or anything like that. We have to have one for August and everything. But to be able to just see the class, how they handled themselves, and they were talking with you instead of at you. It's a tremendous trait to be able to have. That's why I always said Robin Roberts was always one of my favorites, because she would talk with you instead of at you. And It sunk in that Friday night. Of course, it sunk in when they made the call to me when I'm playing in the Boys and Girls Club tournament Monday, and everybody had a different view, but I wasn't expecting to get in because there's other people that are probably more deserving that have waited longer. And here I was able to get in my second try. I didn't really even know I was up for it on the first try, but to get in the second try, it's just a tribute to my administration, my media that have helped me, and the 5 schools that I've worked at. I've had a wonderful life. And now the question is, how can I keep giving back to the game? Because the game is bigger than all these individual awards that are going around right now. The game itself is pretty special. Dr. Naismith put it at 10 foot tall. We don't need to change it. We don't need to change the size of the courts. Women do not need to have the basket lowered for we can dunk, and we're dunking already sometimes. We don't need it. The game is great, and right now, it is the best time in the world to be in women's athletics, particularly women's basketball, because we might not need Michael Jordan like we used to have him in the 90s and everything to sell the game of basketball. We've got the Caitlin Clarks. We've got the LSU team that just won a national championship. We've got coaches that are out there that are talking into this microphone and selling the sport. That's what we need, the commercial opportunities and everything. It has nothing to do with NIL and all that portal stuff and everything. When that ball goes up, women's basketball is fixing to go sky high. The next television contract is going to go sky high. I guarantee you we will not be attached to the men. We will have our own separate contract. The WNBA has helped. And thank heavens for the NBA who has helped pay the way and pave the way for us, because they're still losing money in the WNBA, but the product is as good as it's ever been. That's my short answer to you.
Who have you heard from that touched you?
This phone, I'm hearing from a lot of people because my South Oak Cliff kids, they stay up. The older you get, the more you reflect back on your careers. The Louisiana Tech people that I coached with and some of the players. The Stephen F. is all over, baby. I'm getting calls right and left from there. The Arkansas kids that I saw at the Final Four, I'm out taking selfies out there around Dirk Nowitzki's statue out in front of American Airlines. And then the Texas A&M people, and particularly the fans here. They've been great. Now, that's who I'm hearing from. I'm about 57 text messages behind, but I try to do it because I do a one-finger thing and I don't abbreviate. That's about the way I talk. I don't abbreviate. People want to say thank you because I'm representing them. That's what's important. I'm a product of Title IX, and that's where I got my opportunity. The smartest move I ever made was in '77 when we won state to turn down the head baseball job at South Oak Cliff and be a coordinator in football with Norman Jett. I turned it down where all my friends were on the men's side because obviously I was waiting around for a baseball or men's basketball job. But that was a smart decision to make right there.
So what happened? When did you fall in love with it, with the women's game?
I was needed. It was 6-on-6 basketball. The colleges were playing 5-on-5, but nobody knew who it was. I remember Sonia Hogue, the Louisiana Tech coach, when the year before they go to Madison Square Garden to play in the big Hanover Manufacturing Tournament, which we went the next 2 years once I got there. And she said the first year the fashion editor came out to cover the games with Nancy Lieberman and Old Dominion and Rutgers, and I don't know who it was. They sent the fashion
It
editor
wasn't
out.
considered a sport.
No, it wasn't, and I'm sure we were only 5,000 or 6,000 in Madison Square Garden, but you learn to help build in the growth of it. There was as many great players back then that were not getting the media attention or the credit. The last thing I'm leaving, I got a picture of her right here. I'm leaving in the suite of American Airlines because I watched the fourth quarter there. I'm sitting there with Cheryl Miller. Nobody is more flamboyant than Cheryl Miller. And I'm standing next on the floor next to Nancy Lieberman, who was also on that 76 team. I mean, the Players' Day, they don't know who they are. They might know Reggie Miller.
Right.
They don't know how good Cheryl was. She was the first 6'3" kid that could play all over the court and play every position. And she beat us out of 2 national championships in 83 and 84 at USC. We'd won in 81 and 82. And Cheryl Miller, she could play all of them.
Have you been flooded with memories?
All year. It's been, what I've tried to do is stay close to the game by being part of the game. I don't miss one of Joni's games. I missed the Purdue game when I was in Christmas break, seen every other game. I sit away from there over on the other side, and I enjoy the game. I'm at every one of Buzz's games. And I want to stay close to the game because I'm a sports fan first. Then I'm a basketball coach. And right now, I think I could be a better basketball coach today because I've had a chance to study the game without being tilted one way or another, how I would do this or make an excuse if I didn't do it right. I've been able to watch a lot of television. I've been able to be there in person. I've been able to hear from my coaching friends out there in the game what they're having to go through now. And so reflection every day this year, it's been special.
Bill Byrne tells a story about George Bush helping you recruit Larry Mishaw's daughter, and that opened a pipeline to Houston. Can you tell? And that helped you win in 2011.
Well, when we took the job at A&M, our first recruiting class was pretty good because we had to come in here and decide who we were going to need and how to close the border on certain areas. And we chose the Houston area first that we needed to close the border. We beat Georgia and LSU out for LaToya Mishaw. And basically the dad and George Bush made the statement, and Larry, who had played overseas for 9 years, I believe, over there and still raising a family, and he was coaching in high school and had told us he wants to see his daughter play and see his son play. And he didn't want to go to Georgia or LSU to make that drive. And that helped us a bunch, being able to get LaToya come down. And President Bush, he had that way of being a grandfather figure while Barbara ran everything. Okay, but President Bush just had Reed Arena. He would come in through that loading dock down there. Of course, the Secret Service would be here 2 hours before sniffing around with the dogs and everything, but he would want to come to see practice or go over to see the softball practice. And he was just like everybody's granddad after he retired. We had a dinner at his house on President Bush. They invited about 4 of us coaches over there, and I think Pat Henry was one of them, and I'm not sure. I don't think Gillespie was at this one. Over in their condos, 4 tables of 8. And I sat next to George Bush,
This is up here in Houston?
No, here,
Okay.
right there. And Jim Nance was sitting right there, and Larry Durker was sitting right there. And I wish I could remember all of the table. But to be able to hear the conversations right there and see everybody share their stories, it was very special. And we were able to sell Michal not just on playing time, but how she could build this program to the level that her dad had at University of Houston, but also for her family and her younger brother to be able, she could go and see him play. And I think that family decision that they needed to grow together had a lot to do with her coming here.
When did you leave Arkansas for A&M? What was it about A&M that you loved?
Well, first, this has always been a dream school. And it was also funny when we went to the Final Four in '98. And then the next year, and we were Cinderella in '98 getting there. That's when a 1 beat a 16, and we were on the other side. Then we went 3 straight years to the NCAA tournament after we won the WNIT. And I also could see the president of the university wanted to make a change sometime. I was 57 years old. Bill Byrne came after me, doubled my salary, but gave me the opportunity to come back to my state where I knew I could recruit and I could win at A&M. He had so much to do with the vision of how he was going to turn A&M into a total school, not just a basketball, football school. He was able to turn it all in. And I think in '06 or '07, Robert would know, we won 8 conference championships, 7 of them were on the women's side. And then it's expanded ever since. So I bought into the vision. I also bought into knowing my 5th year of my contract was going to come up. Am I going to roll the dice at 58 without a chance to come back to my home state? I would have been probably, I'm loyal, I probably would have stayed at Arkansas if they would have made a counter or whatever. No counter whatsoever. I came here, tremendous decision, and I was able to also bring Texas people with me that knew this state and how to recruit. You better be sure when you come in here, you take care of the high school coaches and junior college coaches first and make sure they know who you are. And that's back when Texas was winning at the highest level and Mulkey was just getting it going at Baylor and Texas Tech was sort of swooning down the other way. But Texas A&M, I knew we could do it.
I was gonna. Are you gonna cut it off?
Oh, no.
What is it you came to love about A&M?
First, the students, not the athletes as much as the student body itself. I had to learn the traditions. Like, I believe Christina can help me on this tonight, is Silver Taps. Is that right, somebody? Until you've been to a Silver Taps or until you've been to a fish camp, and you've been one of the ones, purple was mine, until you've done that, until you sawed the horns off, it's not about beating Texas. It's about what you're doing. That's the spirit. Other schools, and then when I would see people wear their rings to a death do us part, they just keep them. Vic wore his wedding ring and his Aggie ring right over the top until we won this. and then he put that on. But it's the traditions. I had to learn all that stuff. I still don't know all the words to everything. I just mumble through and everything. It's hard to know where you're going and all that type of stuff. But that is what sold me the traditions of A&M. My brother came here as a freshman in '59, okay? And he stayed here for 1 year, then he got married. And he said the biggest mistake he ever made was not moving into married student housing here and finishing at A&M. But he did all right back in Dallas, but he absolutely loved it as well.
When you guys beat Baylor in the regional final that year, Vic was doing a radio show courtside. He was on one knee and he looks up and he sees all these former players of you guys.
Yep.
And he just starts to cry. Is that what players, that's the bond a coach has with players?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what you're feeling today?
Oh, yeah. It's, I cried movies, okay?
Yeah.
I'm a basket case. I hate to even see what's going to happen in August when I have to get up there against all those polished people that are going to be speaking. But you had that bond. Side note on that, when I'm sitting at the championship game Sunday, I'm sitting right behind Lobo on the first row next to Coach Neighbors from Arkansas, because they put the Final Four coaches in those seats. For $325, we can sit there. So that's what it cost us to do. But I did it, and I looked across the way, and there's Mulkey over there. The last time I'd been in that arena when we were able to beat Baylor back there in 2011.
You should have reminded her of that.
No. Kim's her own woman, and she's done one heck of a job. And we did a heck of a job winning that game because they were the best team in the nation that year. Not Stanford, not Connecticut, not Notre Dame. But it's hard to beat me 4 times in a row. Okay, it's hard to do it. We had a great game plan. Vic did a great job making some defensive adjustments in that ball game. And perhaps we were a team of destiny. But if you also remember, Connecticut had beaten Notre Dame 3 times that year, lost in the semis to Notre Dame. It's hard to do it 4 times in a row.
Yeah, we've heard you talk about before about just your journey getting into basketball to start off with, kind of, starting off golf. And I guess 2-part question for me. What do you think, if you were to talk to that guy, just taking out over a South Oak Cliff and say you're going to not only do basketball, but you're going to have a Hall of Fame career. And then what do you think people can, I guess, learn from your journey through that?
When you run out of ability first as an athlete in whatever sport, you figure out what are you going to be good at, okay? I'd flunked out of architecture. I could have went back, sat out another semester, and been a okay architect. But I wanted to do something that I was good at, and that was managing people. I learned a lot of that in the Marine Corps as well when I was over there in '69 and '70. And I said, this is what I can do, and I can do it well. I can manage people. I can talk with people. And I love sports. So all my background in coaching even softball at Louisiana Tech for a year, or the most outstanding award I ever got in my life was most outstanding intramural athlete in 1968. And I was in 22 out of 27 sports. I wasn't great in anything, but I was pretty good. And you learn how to do this. You learn how to be the best you can. So I would be the ultimate 12th man if I was an athlete here at A&M. I would be the 12th man either on the football team or be the manager or whatever, because you get over that ego real quick and learn what you can do best. And hey, it's going to be special. We got baseball tonight, played golf this morning, won $4. Let's compete, okay? Let's compete. Let's go after it. So I don't know if I really answered that question, but I don't finish a lot of questions, okay?
Coach, how'd you hit him today?
I'm sorry?
How'd you hit him out on the course
I
today?
hit 14 out of 14 fairways. I shot
right.
6 over on the par threes. I went out of bounds on 5 and on number 9. But I played well. I made one 20-foot birdie on 14, and I won $2 on a side bet and $2 on a team bet. And that's the most important thing, that team bet. Our threesome beat the other 2 threesomes that we were playing.
This makes you come back, right?
Oh, tomorrow I cannot do it because I work out, believe it or not, at the Wellness Center now. On Monday and Wednesday, 8:30 to 9:30, a strength class and a balance class. It's the best thing I've ever done. And then I've got to do Texags at 9:35. I've got Rotary at 1 o'clock. And we're supposed to be at walk-ons to try a meal out that's going to be in our golf tournament. I'm supposed to go over there. So my plate is full every day. And I'm learning to live life and still do the things I want to do, but at the same time, do the things that I need to do. I procrastinated for 50 years in coaching. I've got so much, but I don't want to get organized in that first week after you retire. I want to do a few things. I want to take my wife out to dinner. I want to see my grandkids. Last year I was streaming my grandson, who's a freshman at Arkansas, but all his senior year basketball games, I'd watch every one of them because his high school had the streaming. So I got to see all those games if I couldn't do it in person. Now, of all things, he's a freshman at Arkansas on the men's practice team for Coach Neighbor's team there. So I'm enjoying life, but I want to live life, and I want to keep giving back to life, and I want to keep making this game better somehow, some way. And there's a lot of things that's going to have to happen in the next 4 to 5 years that we need changing to get back to the one thing that a lot of people didn't take in school, and that's called common sense. When we can put common sense in place of some of the things that are going forward and not worry about the repercussions or not worry about, is my butt covered or something like that. We need to get back to common sense, realize we're living in the greatest country ever right now.
So ESPN this week said that the women's Final Four games were some of the highest rated
Yes.
ever. How cool is it to see the growth from when you started coaching to now, seeing how many people were even just engaged in watching the games this weekend?
It is so rewarding. And I go back to that Cheryl Miller thing when she played at USC. We're playing at Orange Coast Community College when we go back out there to replay their game. This has nothing to do with anything, but I'm going to tell a story anyway. And we're playing Cheryl Miller and them, and we're on national TV, regional or whatever, because we'd won national title the 2 years prior to that. We come from behind, but with about 10 minutes to go in the game, they cut it off because I believe it was Hee Haw that was coming on national TV. So nobody got to see the last 10 minutes of the game. That's how far it has come with the media and all of that. But we came back and beat Cheryl Miller in that game out there. They beat us in the opening game that year at Louisiana Tech when we opened up the Thomas Assembly Center. And then they beat us in the semifinals that year. And I love the media because most of y'all are here because you want to be here instead of being here because, oh, I've got to go cover this. I got to wait around for football in the fall, or I got to wait around for the baseball game tonight. You're here because you want to be here. The doors are wide open for you guys as well as the young ladies, you've got a voice now. Why not be the best at what you do? Find a way. Look at the commentators. Look at Tarasi and Bird were just like doing what Peyton and Eli were doing. Look at what Rebecca Lobo was doing, and help me with the guy that's the main announcer, trying to think of his name. They're telling the story. What's wrong that it doesn't have to be my Dallas Cowboys or the Green Bay Packers anymore? It doesn't have to be Alabama football or whatever. Women's athletics is going up and up and up. And that's what we're a part of right now. That's what I'm excited about.
That it? All right, thank you, Coach.
Congratulations. Coach.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Coach.
Keep working. Don't ever turn down these assignments and give it to somebody else. You cover, you ask. Remember, every day I get to either hear Jimbo or Buzz or Joni or Pat Henry talk or Trish talk. I get to listen to Steve Denton on a radio show or something like that. We've got so many good coaches that are giving y'all content. But we need more human stories that are about the players and about sometimes the assistant coaches who never get mentioned. We need more of that in the paper instead of just the W and the L and the result or the negativity that's out there. We need those good stories out there. Like to thank my administration for being here with me all the time, and they have given me a platform that's been unreal, okay? When that naming of the floor, when that happened, never even thought about that. And when that happened 2 weeks before my last game, when I found out about it, that was just something that, baby, that meant a whole lot. But next time, hopefully, Ross will not make me play South Carolina in my last game here at home. 41.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Ryan Ruoka.